Hi, my name is Jamie Winship and I'm from Seattle, Washington in the US. And I'd like to talk to you about what I've learned about creativity, which is one of my favorite subjects. So to begin with, I just want to say that in my experience, creativity is a process. And what I'd like to do is walk you through the process over these short videos. And I think, and I'm going to go along with Matthew chapter 5, which I'll talk about in a second, the Beatitudes, and how I think that is the actual creative process that Jesus gives us. But before I do that, I wanted to just talk a little bit about brain science. And it's so beautiful to me how science and scripture and philosophy and all these things go together, because reality is God's best friend. So our brain is in a constant process of attaching to what's around us in the present tense. It's important. It's attaching in the present tense. And so the lowest level of our brain is reaching out to be in relationship. And what the brain wants, what the human wants, is joyful relationship with things around us, trees, people, ideas, books, everything. And so every 1/6 of a second, your brain is reaching out to attach, and it starts at the lowest part of the lower part of the right part of the brain, and that idea is moving all the way through the brain, all the way through a process from the lowest right part of the brain up to the prefrontal cortex. Now, here's what happens though in that every 1/6 of a second process. It either can go all the way to the prefrontal cortex, and then it moves into creativity, or it can get stuck or blocked. The idea, the attempt at relationship, whatever it is, can get stuck or blocked in the brain, according to how we grew up and trauma and things in our life. So here's what happens. So here I'm walking around in my world in the present tense, and I have this sense I want to be attached to this object, person, idea, creative project. There it comes, it pops, and I'm ready. I want to be attached to it. And so the next thing that happens is that idea moves into the assessment center. So we have the attachment center, then into the assessment center, the amygdala of the brain. And in the assessment center is like a library. And so let's say, for example, I see a dog or a person or a tree, and so I want to attach to it, and then that thought goes into the assessment center, and in the assessment center, it's a library of what are my experiences with dogs, trees, other people been in my life growing up. And in that assessment center, that idea can be completely shut down because of fear or shame, or even a kind of guilt. So it assesses it. No, we tried that before. That idea failed. I tried to write a book once. It was a disaster. I never finished. I tried to be in a relationship with that person. They rejected me. I hate rejection. I tried to pet the dog. The dog bit me when I was 4. And that assessment center will shut it down immediately. And the thing is, it's not because you're thinking through it. It's just a reflex. Nope, we've done this. Shut it down. So what we want is for that thought, that creative idea, to continue through the assessment center up into the attunement center, and that idea is higher in the brain, midbrain, and that's the idea of if I entertain this idea, if I proceed with this idea, if I proceed with this relationship, how do I attune who I am with it? How do I relate to it? And you're past assessing, and you're now like, I'm going to figure this thing out. How do I synchronize with this idea or this? What's it going to take to do this? How do I proceed with it? And once you're doing that, then the thought proceeds forward to the prefrontal cortex, to your true self. And the true self will embrace the idea and actually delegate the idea to the left side of the brain, which is the administrative, and like, let's get to work. And then the left side of the brain is, okay, we got to get up at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. We got to start writing the book or painting the picture, or we're going to have to do this to develop the relationship. All that work, assessing, attuning, is happening every 1/6 of a second. But because we're not paying attention to it, things pop, get shut down, pop, get shut down, and we're blocked, or we can't follow through. Or it sounds good, we start it, and then it collapses for these different reasons. But most of the time, what shuts it down in the assessment center is fear. That's what shuts it down. So how do we keep that? And this whole process, the goal, again, is joyful relationship with whatever it is I'm engaging in. Joyful relationship. So then how do I stay in joyful relationship in my true identity in order to keep that process moving and flowing freely? The idea is calm. I can think about them. They don't produce fear and anxiety in me. They don't produce a sense of failure. These ideas can calm and they can go forward in my mind, and I can develop them to completion, or whichever way that goes, because there's beauty and joy and freedom and love in this whole thing. So where in Scripture, because that's the first place I like to go, is the way or the process to keep this freeway, this highway open from down here, hey, there's an idea, all the way up to the creative, true identities, taking it, let's go to work. How do I do that? And the answer is Matthew chapter 5, the Beatitudes. The Beatitudes keep the highway of creativity open in your mind, and that's what we're going to explore together.